Crazy crashes, road rage, more road rage, raging neighbors, all this and more is lined up for you in today's episode of
Wham Baam, Teslacam. I hope you're satisfied.
Steven was driving home from work in his brand new Model 3 Performance. Full self-driving was engaged as he cruised along at highway speeds. His Tesla didn't react as chunks of debris flew across his path. So Steven took over in an attempt to avoid hitting it. Instead, he ended up driving through a cloud of concrete and rocks that hailed down all over the body of his new car. Steven didn't even realize what had happened until he got home and watched his Teslacam footage. Steven called the police in an attempt to get the dump truck driver's information, and the operator transferred him to a sergeant. He told Steven he normally wouldn't provide info to someone who'd left the scene, but since Steven had video footage to back up his story, the sergeant was willing to make an exception. Steven found out the truck driver was shaken up but otherwise unhurt, and he was able to get his insurance information. His Model 3 will definitely need a new front bumper cover, but he's waiting to hear from the trucker's insurance provider before he gets a repair quote. Gava was driving his Cybertruck on I-80 in Rocklin, California when he witnessed a spectacular rainbow. Wait, is that it? Is this video about anything else? Oh wait, I think traffic is piling up. No. Let's check the rear camera. That music is a dead giveaway.
Jump in! Honda bumped!
Wait, stop the music. The Honda missed. However, it did get bumped by an Acura, or what some of our viewers refer to as a premium Honda. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is a premium bump. That wasn't the only thing Gava sent us. Minutes later, a biker passed him, and evidently he wanted a piece of his Cybertruck. Well, sort of. He actually wanted to stroke it as he rode by. I guess it's nice to see some Cybertruck love for once. A rainbow, a premium bump, and an adoring admirer. This turned out to be an emotional roller coaster for Gava, but he isn't done yet. He also sent us this clip from when, as he put it, a neighbor wanted to smash his windshield just because he hates Cybertrucks. I think we've gotten pretty good at spotting staged videos at this point, but this one has us stumped. The Cybertruck definitely gets a lot of hate, and neighbors do be crazy, but is this real or fake? We'll let you figure it out in the comments below. On the one hand, it would have been difficult for Gava to stage any of the other videos he sent us, so he's got a good track record. Whatever the case, Gava told us he'll be avoiding that street from now on. One thing is for sure, Cybertruck hate is very real. Julian was driving his Cybertruck on the Kennedy Expressway in Chicago, Illinois. After a Dodge merged up ahead, the driver of a Toyota Camry sped up behind it in an attempt to block Julian's merge into the same lane. At one point, they were clearly both in the same lane, and Julian had no room to move over as there was traffic in the lane to his right. In the end, Julian decided to let the disturbed and unstable Camry driver get in front of him. He continued giving Julian the finger while Julian just smiled calmly and continued his drive home. Julian suspects the Camry driver was either a Tesla hater or perhaps he was just jealous of Julian's shiny Cybertruck. This submitter was driving through Burlington, North Carolina when his Teslacam captured a pickup and a car colliding in an intersection. Our submitter shared his footage with the police, and they found it very useful for determining who was at fault. Can you guess who they picked? Leave your prediction in the comments, and we'll return with the verdict later in the video. Philip was driving his Model 3 with autopilot engaged in heavy traffic when he noticed a white van quickly catching up with him. Philip explained that he'd had no prior interaction with this driver, which we confirmed by combing through several minutes of footage. While Philip had no problem with the van driver definitely seemed to have an issue with Philip. After tailgating him extremely closely, he cut off his Tesla, scraping the front left corner in the process. The van driver then took off. Once Philip realized what had actually happened, he decided he wasn't about to let him get away with it, so he took off in pursuit. The van driver made an evasive maneuver at the next ramp, and when he realized Philip was still on his tail, he tried to outrun his Tesla. Yes, seriously. The guy finally came to his senses and pulled over, or at least that's what Philip thought. Once they'd both stopped, the van driver shifted into reverse and backed into the Tesla, making contact for a second time. The van driver then sped off once more, but since Philip had all the evidence he needed, he decided not to continue the chase. Philip filed a police report and passed along all this information to the police, but he's still waiting to hear back from them. At first, we thought this was a work van, but then we realized it was a rental van, which will hopefully make the police's job of locating the driver very easy. Alan was headed south on Bayfield Street in Barrie, Ontario, in the center of 3 lanes when he changed lanes for a right turn up ahead. That's when a driver heading north turned left across 3 lanes of traffic to reach a mall, failing to yield to cross traffic. Alan couldn't stop in time and T-boned the turning vehicle. The driver told Alan their view had been blocked by a box truck, the driver of which had stopped to let them through. We've said this so many times and we'll keep saying it. It's not courteous to stop and wave someone through when you have the right-of-way. It's dangerous. Close the gap. Alan called 911 before getting put on hold for 10 minutes. No first responders ever showed up. The wrecked vehicles were towed away, and the initial repair estimate came to $10,000 US. Moose was driving to class when a pickup driver turned in front of her, leaving her with no time to react. Her seatbelt tightened while both she and her Tesla applied the brakes, but a collision couldn't be avoided. Her steering wheel airbag deployed during the impact. A few minutes later, the vehicle shut down. Moose is now waiting for the insurance company to locate an available repair shop since the only one local to her is booked solid until June of 2025. Tesla Toybox was heading home one night when he witnessed a collision that turned into a hit and run after one of the drivers took off. Tesla Toybox stopped to check on the occupants of the vehicle that had stopped. After making sure everyone was okay, he told them he'd saved the footage and would be back. He then took off in search of the other driver. He quickly found them a few blocks away in a parking lot, but when they spotted Tesla Toybox, they took off again. But not before he managed to get their license plate number. He returned to the collision scene, shared the information with the other driver, and told them he'd send them his Teslacam footage once he was home. When he did, they were very thankful for the video evidence. Tesla Toybox is thankful everyone was okay, and while he did note that the driver seemed to turn when they shouldn't have, it was also clear that the other driver was exceeding the speed limit. On top of that, they left the scene, which was not cool. He wanted to shout out his Tesla driving friends, all of whom have their own Tesla-related YouTube channels. Martha and her husband were heading to the chiropractor after hunting for Hot Wheels. FSD was engaged and it was rainy, but not too bad according to Martha. Traffic started moving after the light turned green. For some reason, several drivers began to stop and FSD followed suit, but the driver of the pickup behind them didn't. At first, Martha thought they'd been pushed into the car in front of them, but thankfully that wasn't the case. If we look to the right, it becomes clear that traffic had stopped for a pedestrian illegally crossing the street. The Ram driver told Martha that he'd seen a green light and traffic moving, but he didn't realize it had stopped again. He was very apologetic as he picked up multiple pieces of his pickup truck off the street. The Tesla, on the other hand, didn't lose any parts. Martha's husband and the Ram driver assessed the damage while Martha began the insurance claim process, relieved to have Teslacam footage as evidence of what had happened. After they'd waited for a tow truck for over an hour, Martha's husband decided to simply drive the Tesla to the body shop their insurance provider had specified. As far as they know, the tow truck never arrived. Martha wanted to shout out her husband and thank him for being strong throughout the incident. She told us they watch all the Wham Baam Teslacam and Dashcam videos together. Now that's couple goals. Tanya was driving her Model S in Melbourne, Florida when a lifted pickup truck behind her, how should I put this, stopped being so lifted. The pickup's right wheel came off when it stopped for a traffic light, rolling up beside Tanya's car and the car behind her and hitting the side of her Tesla. The impact even damaged her right repeater camera. The driver of the truck got out and exclaimed that the lug nuts had broken off and that the same thing had happened 2 years ago. Tanya told us he was very polite and apologetic as they exchanged insurance information. The right camera on Tanya's Tesla appears to have been knocked slightly loose and now needs to be replaced. The pickup driver's insurance provider is still reviewing the damage and hasn't yet determined how they'll repair Tanya's car. The pickup, on the other hand, had to be towed away from the scene. Crow was driving home on a highway at around 7:30 p.m. when he saw two flashes in the sky. After seeing the massive meteor, also known as a shooting star, Crow used his one wish to wish you'd check and make sure you're still subscribed to Wham Baam Teslacam. As he told us, he recently noticed that YouTube had unsubscribed him. Seriously, this really does happen. If you enjoy our videos, please take a look and see if you're still subscribed. After dropping her child off at school, Candy Cat witnessed something odd while sitting at a red light. Don't blink or you'll miss it. Okay, she asked us what we think it was, and it looks like some kind of electric unicycle going insanely fast. Michelle was on her way to work on I-75 through Troy, Michigan just before 5 a.m. It was raining pretty hard, so most drivers were going below the speed limit, including Michelle. Early on in the footage she sent us, she was passed on the left by a small SUV going around 10 miles per hour faster than she was. As the SUV driver entered a curve in the highway, it looks like he began hydroplaning before losing control and spinning into the median barrier, severely damaging the rear end. The spin itself is hard to see, but check out that light show. It looks like the SUV spun 720 degrees before finally stopping. Ramtack's wife, Rosa, was heading home from work in El Paso, Texas, when she spotted some commotion in her rearview mirror. A Model 3 driver tried to merge behind her, but for whatever reason, a pickup driver wasn't about to let that happen. The pickup driver ended up very slowly bumping into the Tesla before the Tesla driver got out to confront him. Unwilling to accept responsibility for his actions, the pickup driver tried to make a run for it. The Tesla driver was not okay with that, and they took off in pursuit of the pickup. Incredibly, this happened right behind a sheriff's deputy, who evidently didn't notice. Ramtack wanted to shout out his wife Rosa and his two kids Joseph and Carson, who he told us are our biggest fans. Okay, we don't want to leave you hanging, so let's get back to our earlier collision investigation. The driver at fault was the pickup driver who'd run a stop sign. Well, how'd you do? Did you guess correctly? Joey was driving home from work. He was relaxing and listening to a podcast while letting FSD do the work when an owl suddenly flew right in front of his Tesla. Joey told us it was a surreal experience. He was grateful he got to see the owl and that he'd captured it on Teslacam. The owl was fine, by the way, which we can confirm by checking the other camera angles. Joey told us he grew up watching Wham Baam videos and that it's been his dream to one day own a Tesla and capture something to send us. Wait a second, how long have we been doing this? Well, we're on episode 272, and if we assume an average number of 15 stories per episode, that's over 4,000 stories we've featured. Oh my gosh, I'm getting old. But stick around because we're just getting started.